On behalf of the bargaining team and also our members, I want to talk a little bit about some of the issues of bargaining, and I also want to talk very briefly about hiring. So I want to start by saying we acknowledge the efforts that have been made to change the tone in bargaining this year, and the bargaining team does appreciate that. We hope that that continues. That said, I know there's a tradition of the project director not actually being present at bargaining, and hopefully, spoken to Ron a little bit about this, hopefully that won't hold things up and we can move along smoothly following that tradition. So I just wanted to put that out there.
You meant the executive director.
I'm sorry, yes, the executive director. But the big issue on the table, and there are lots of them, but the big one is inflation. For most of the staff, actually for all of the staff, our salaries have just not kept pace with the rise in the cost of living. At the time of the last contract negotiation, even stabilized rents had gone up by 7.25%. All we have gotten, for those of us who are on the steps, is a step increase, which is not the same as a raise. And once you take away the 1% that we're now contributing out of pocket, for most staff, that amounts to about $25 a paycheck. For those staff who are off the steps, which is a large portion of our long-term staff, and this includes people from process servers all the way up to attorneys, they got a one-time payment that means that they're actually getting paid at this point in real dollars less than they were getting paid before the last contract. So I just want to put out there, Legal Services has lots of good funding news, and managers had recently gotten raises that when you look in aggregate and compare to their previous salaries, the total is somewhere between 5 and 11%, depending on the manager, when you look retroactively. So, we are looking for something that is meaningful, that is sustainable, that is livable, and that is comparable to what was given to managers. So, put that out there. The other issue I want to talk a little bit about is hiring. I know that the union's position has been characterized as we're requesting a hiring freeze. I want to clarify that that's not really what we're looking for. What we want is some meaningful input into the discussion about the composition and the scope of hiring that's going on. We all recognize that some of the grants we have require deliverables that can only be met with more staff. What we want, though, is to see that the hiring is strategic and thoughtful. And I think in order to do that, the staff on the ground who are doing the work need to be included in that discussion. And just to give one example, a lot of the postings and a lot of the hiring have been for attorneys. Now, granted, many of the deliverables require a certain number of full rep cases to be done. But in many of our offices, there is already a severe shortage of support staff, and case handlers are doing work that support staff would traditionally do, which means they have less time to handle cases. And so what we are interested in is having a dialogue about, instead of hiring 4 attorneys, maybe you hire 3 attorneys and you hire an executive secretary. Or maybe you hire a receptionist for an office that doesn't have a full-time receptionist, so that the paralegals don't have to cover the front desk, so that they can do the work that they are best prepared and best trained to do. And that's really what we're looking for. And we've been discussing this with Ron for several weeks. We are looking forward to a meeting in the next couple of weeks to have this discussion. I wish the discussion could have come a little bit earlier because we've done so much hiring. But I think there are hires to come, and I do hope that our input is taken into account, and we come up with a group of staff that can actually efficiently and effectively do the work that needs to happen. And finally, on the money front, while things look really good, we still don't have an answer from LSC about how much money will be allowed to carry over. And there are other sort of questions that are up in the air that I think would be useful to answer, including deliverables for some of our newest money, before we actually went ahead and made offers to people and then committed to keeping them. So that's all I have. If anyone has any questions, I did bring copies of our bargaining proposal. If anyone is interested, I'll pass them around. If anyone's interested, just raise your hand and I'll sort of send it that way. Okay. All right. Well, I don't have enough for everyone, so
we can make more.
you can, yeah, you can share. But
I think
pass them around. So.
I think many of us have gotten it already.
Okay, yeah, many of you have probably seen it, but I'm sure there are some who haven't. So any questions?
I just want to thank you for the presentation. I want to say to you that the report back we have gotten are similarly positive in the sense that tone has changed, which is good. And we are very hopeful that the process will be shorter, less rancorous, more successful than the last time. And we welcome you to come back to public session the next time we have a meeting as well.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.